Star Wars! Now, before we begin, I just need to say that Star Wars Republic Commando on the PlayStation 4 is not a remaster or a remake. It's the original game from 2005, ported to the PlayStation 4, which, honestly, I feel is a good thing. You know, remasters are great, I love a remaster, but sometimes it's just nice to play the original experience, but with perhaps some cleaned up visuals and a nicer frame rate. You know, there's loads of games out there that I would love to play. No changes, just upscaled, smooth frame rate, trophy support, and on a modern day console. I'm looking at you, Simpsons Hit and Run. Now, I have to admit, I'm not a massive Star Wars fan. I'm more of a casual observer, if you will. I've seen all the movies, I've watched some of the animated stuff as well, and I've played a few of the games, but I just don't hold any nostalgia for the franchise. You know, it's not a thing I would seek out, it's not something that is connected to me. However, something I do seek out is good games, and Republic Commando is definitely one of those. Now, as you can probably tell, Republic Commando is a first-person shooty game, and where you play as the commander. Obviously this is set during the Clone Wars, and so obviously you are a clone with your clone brethren, and you have a boring number designation, but your teammates just refer to you as boss, which pleases me very deeply. The squad mechanics are quite basic, but very intuitive. You basically just tell them what to do, and they'll do it. No question, no hesitation, they'll just do it. Amazing. Although that's not to say they are completely brainless, because they will observe their surroundings and they will do things of their own accord. So you don't have to manage their every single move. You're not micromanaging these people. You know, in fact, for a game that came out in 2005, I have to say the AI is absolutely astounding. I'm honestly really impressed with how good the AI is. For the most part, you can just let them do what they want, and yeah, you will have to occasionally tell them to proceed to certain areas to progress the level or to progress in the story. But in general, all you really need to do is say, go here, use your best judgment, come back, go there, you know what I mean? They will heal themselves, they'll revive teammates, they'll set up positions all by themselves, you don't need to say anything. Although of course you can be more tactical and you can set up a perimeter or something, you can tell them to go to a certain area, that kind of thing. It's all up to you, you can decide how you want to play it, it's great. You know, speaking of the team, let's meet them, shall we?
Boss. Scorch. Fixer. Seth.
Our lovely little team here have been together since we first emerged from the clone tube, and they all have their own personalities as well, which is interesting considering they're clones, but that would mean that they're essentially all just twins, right? So you get a lot of camaraderie and a lot of mutual respect for each other, and it really does show with the conversations back and forth. I think that's probably the strongest aspect of the game, really, the conversations between these characters. It's just nice to listen to them. Now for the gameplay, for the most part you'll just be shooting these droids and sometimes some lizards, and then doing whatever the higher ups want you to do. You know, might be blow this thing up, or blow that thing up, or blow this thing up, you know. So in that sense it's quite linear and straightforward, and there's usually only one path to the end, and there's some enemies in the way. I know it sounds basic, and yeah, it is basic, but the conversations and the environments and the weaponry keep it fresh. Speaking of weaponry, the weapon you get is really interesting, and what I mean by that is you can rejig the thing to be a different weapon on the fly. So you'll start out with an automatic rifle, and then later down the line you'll get yourself a mod that will turn the thing into a sniper rifle that can pierce through armour. And then eventually you'll find yourself another mod that'll turn it into a grenade launcher that just destroys everything. The fact that it's all one weapon that can just be interchanged, I really love that sort of thing. Another weapon I have to talk about is the melee attack. Your dude has a retractable blade on the back of his left hand, and that is absolutely fanrific. But, you know, of course I would say that because I'm a massive Assassin's Creed fanboy. Is this where they got the idea from? Ubisoft. Always stealing. Oh! You know what that sound means? It's the trophy tip alarm.
One of the trophies here is to get 100 kills using melee attacks. Now that sounds like a lot, but very early on in the game, you'll come to an area with infinitely spawning droids popping out of this machine here. You can just sit here and spam the melee attack, and you'll get this trophy in no time. Good luck out there, hunters.
You know, another feature which I find to be absolutely amazing is the ability to reassign your controller layout and buttons. For instance, me personally, I've just changed it so that melee is circle and that crouch is L3 rather than the other way around, and I've made it so that I can zoom in with L2. But you know, you could change it to anything you wanted. You could have it so that triangle is to fire the gun and R3 is reload if you really wanted to. You know, this is especially good if you want to change it to a more modern control standard. You know, R2 being fire, L2 being aim, R1 being a grenade throw perhaps. It's very impressive, and it's the little things that make a big difference. Most modern games don't let you change your layout to this extent. A final mention of the gear, we have the helmet. Now it might not seem like an important thing to mention, but oh yes, it is. Your helmet is everything. It shows your shield, it shows your life, the type of nades you're using, the location of your team and their status, along with being able to switch vision modes. Vision modes are very interesting. You have your regular mode, which is just regular vision, tactical mode, which will highlight certain things, and something that I wasn't expecting, low light mode. Really, this kinda does make you feel like you're inside the helmet. Imagine this in VR. Well, of course you'd probably have to make the graphics a bit more realistic for it to feel real, but even so, you've got to love a heads-up display that is both visible to you and visible to the character in-game. Makes you feel like you are one, you know what I mean? Amazing. Oh, and a last mention. It's a trophy as well, so keep that in mind. But when you get some gunk on the visor, like let's just say some alien blood or whatever, you know, sometimes it happens. You get a little laser thing that comes across the visor and wipes it off for you. Mate, I'm telling you, this game has so much charm and so many little details. It's actually amazing. Now, of course, the game isn't all sunshine and rainbows. Like anything, there's things that could be improved and what have you. And the main thing for me would be the way the game aims. Of course, this game being an FPS, the aiming is very important, and it's really hard to explain this, but there's a kind of aim acceleration, and the movement doesn't always feel particularly smooth. It kind of feels like it takes a while to ramp up to full speed, and it's almost as if you're aiming in 8 directions rather than the reticule just being your analog stick. Of course, this game is older than about 95% of the Fortnite player base, so I don't expect it to be held to modern standards, but I'm just throwing it out there that it is a little bit hard to adjust to the old ways, you know? I will say, however, at least it's not like the PlayStation 1 days, where like R1 and L1 would be how you'd look up and down. Those weren't the days. Another small complaint is that I would have liked to have seen the behind the scenes section get a little bit of a remastered treatment. Now this might just be me, and perhaps it looks alright on the recording, at least I'm hoping so, but the artwork and some of the behind the scenes stuff is quite pixelated and blurry. Now I appreciate that it might not have been possible to upscale this in some way, and yeah, it's only the behind the scenes stuff, and you know, all the effort that went into the making of the game and all the charm and all the love, and you know, it's clear a lot of time and effort was put into this game. But the videos here, they're like little dial-up clips from days gone by, and it makes me very sad. Still watchable though, I'm just saying. And my last major complaint is that some enemies, mainly these guys, can be a bit glitchy. Or rather, it's like trying to fight a ninja on crack. It's doable, but bloody Nora, it's a strange experience. I kinda like it though. Overall though, the game is fanrific. But then again, any Star Wars fan already knows this stuff, I'm sure. However, if you're a trophy hunter like myself, you'll probably want to give this a go, because the hard mode campaign is decently challenging. The trophies are simple enough to understand without the need of a guide, very nice, and most importantly, the game is good fun. I'd give it 4 back to stations out of 5. Good stuff.